It's a Saturday night and you're lounging on your couch, bored. You want to go out, so you pick up your phone and text your friend. What do you usually text your friends in Korean? 뭐해, right? It's the standard opening question when texting someone. So what would you send if you wanted to ask your friend in English? Well, first of all, if you directly translate 뭐해 as what do you do, your friend will probably be very confused. Why would your friend be confused? In English, we ask, what do you do? When we want to know what someone's job is. In this situation, it would be better to ask, what are you doing? However, when we're texting, you can ask something like, what are you up to? So what's the difference between what do you do and what are you doing? In terms of verb tense, the first sentence is an example of the simple present, and the second is an example of the present continuous. The difference here comes from the ways that we use the simple present and the present continuous. In Korean, there are similar forms, and many of the uses overlap, but the uses are not as flexible in English as they are in Korean. First, let's take a look at the simple present. It is called the simple present because the form is very simple, usually just the dictionary form of the verb, and remember to add an S to the end if the subject is he, she, or it, or a singular countable noun. The form may be simple, but the usage is very specific. The simple present has two very general uses. The first is for things that happen regularly, again and again. For example, habits or routines. If you're talking about an activity that you do every day, every week, or even every year, you should use the simple present. As a result, we often use the simple present with adverbs and expressions of frequency to say how often we do something. If you can add usually or often to your sentence, you should use the simple present. For example, if you're describing your daily routine, you should use the simple present. This is John. Every morning, he wakes up, takes a shower, shaves, and brushes his teeth. Then he gets dressed and goes to the kitchen and starts to make coffee, which leads us to our second use of the simple present. The second use is for things that are always true, such as facts. If you're reading a science textbook, you will probably come across the simple present often. For example, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. In general, this is a scientific fact. John needs to heat the water to 100 degrees in order for it to boil, which he then pours into his mug with the coffee mix already added so that he can start his day. So this is why the question, what do you do, is used to ask about someone's job. It really means, what do you usually do? Or, what do you do every day? And your job is what you do almost every day. Like other continuous tenses, the present continuous has a be verb as an auxiliary, am, is, or are, and the ing form of the main verb. One thing you also need to keep in mind is that continuous tenses can only be used with action verbs, verbs that describe an action. The present continuous also has a very specific usage. In Korean, you call the continuous the 진행형, and that's exactly what it's used for, to say that some action is in progress in the present, which means that the action is happening right now or recently. If you can add the phrase right now to your sentence, you probably should use the present continuous. So let's check back in on John. We saw his morning routine, but right now it's 6:40 at night. What is he doing right now? It looks like he's crying. Why are you crying, John? Are you sad? So we can see that when you ask the question, what are you doing? It really means, what are you doing right now? So let's look at the difference between these two sentences. Can you feel the difference in meaning? The first sentence tells us that you often watch Netflix. It's your habit or routine. It doesn't tell us if you are watching Netflix right now. The second sentence means that you are watching Netflix right now. It doesn't tell us if you normally watch Netflix. Here's another example and a sample quiz. When I teach classes, I often ask students on the first day why they are taking my class because I'm curious about their motivations. In this situation, what should the student say? If you chose the second sentence, I'm taking this class because, you're right. The student should use the present continuous because the student is taking the class now or this semester. If the student uses the simple present, it could mean that the student takes my class every semester or every year. Although I enjoy getting to know my students, I hope I do a good enough job the first time they take my class so that they don't have to take it over again. If you watch shows in English on Netflix or videos on YouTube, see if you can get a feel for noticing the difference between the simple present and present continuous in everyday conversation.